Hey guys, welcome to the Queer and Scientific Shenanigans channel. As you know, I am the sole content creator for this channel. This is my introduction video. As you can tell, that this is my first video on here. Before I get started, let me take a note of something. This is not my first time on YouTube. I had some other channel called, it used to be called Sketchbook Animations and Sketchbook Productions, and then Lenster. But because of the fact that I haven't been able to have access to that channel because of my stupid dumb brain, forgetting the password to my Google account associated with that channel, guess who hasn't been able to have access to that channel for a while now, who's kind of given up attempts, because there is no way that I can remember it, because the other account that I had associated in order to remember the stuff, just did not work out. Um, so, yeah. Now, anyways, because of the fact that I can't access my other channel, I decided that it's probably better if I just start new. Because of the fact that I made that channel whenever I was a child. Probably whenever I was like. It was 2021. Yeah, so. 2020. Whenever I was like 12 or 13, which is a long while ago. Because trust me, it was. It was definitely over 5 years ago at this point, I'm pretty sure. Um, and let me tell you, I went through a lot to get to where I am, and making content, um going back and now making contact and doing all of this stuff. Um so so after me saying that, um, let me introduce you to myself. I am you can call me um Sketch or Ellie. Um, I'm a young adult content creator. Um, you can call me a YouTuber, although I would more or less call myself a hobbyist slash professional artist. um art is something I like to do, not my passion anymore, but something that I really like to do still, even today. Um and I am a chronically ill disabled person. I am diagnosed with autism, um dyspraxia. I have peripheral blindness in my left eye, and I have vision loss in my left eye. I have vision problems with both of my eyes, so I just say that I have a visual impairment because that's how I would like to describe my vision problems, because they do impair my life. Um, Even though that it's kind of hard for me to realize that, oh hey, not everyone goes through what they have to go through just to be alive. I am currently being assessed for ADHD, generalized anxiety disorder, and I think that I might have dysgraphia. I just really need to see um on what my psychologist says about my written expression abilities, because that will make it if she finds it concerning and worrying enough for me to be assessed with for this dysgraphia. Um, as a disabled person, I think you guys can understand that my scheduling is not going to be consistent until until like after some point. Like for now, um because of the fact that I'm still waiting to see if I actually am clinically gonna be diagnosed with ADHD, and whether or not, if I do get diagnosed, what kind of treatments am I gonna get for it. Um, so that way I can finally get help with my executive function problems, with my procrastination, with pretty much all of it, because I have a lot of problems, honestly, and since by the fact that I'm seeing a psychologist for all of them, I'm hoping that I get the help that I need. Because obviously I need help, I have problems. I am also part of the LGBT community. I am, I consider myself sapphic angled arrow ace. Um, I mean, I consider myself to be a lesbian because of the fact that I am only romantically attracted to women, and even though that even though my gender identity makes things more complicated, whenever I feel attraction to girls, more or less, I feel more like a girl whenever I'm feeling romantic attraction to girls. And because of the fact that I do have a um woman aligned identity that's part of my overall gender identity. Um, so am I mean, um, I am a girl, but I'm also not a girl. If you know what I mean, I'm both. Um, I'll get to my gender identity in a little bit. I consider myself to be Aeroflux because I feel like my romantic attraction definitely fluctuates in a way. Like, definitely 1 minute I could just be fine with the person, maybe even be romantically attracted to it, and then just suddenly not feeling, like all of a sudden, boom, I just don't feel anything. I kind of might even feel repulsed. And it doesn't even correlate with really anything. It just happens all of a sudden. And sometimes I just don't want romance. I mean, am I just generally really picky about like what kind of romance stuff that I do? And is it probably influenced by my disabilities? Sure, probably, but I still could still give myself a clear aligned identity, because um you know, differentiating between my disabilities and what would be me regardless of whether or not I am disabled or not, which I am disabled. Um, I am also very openly asexual. I don't really feel that sort of things towards men or women. Never felt it. Never felt it at all. Not towards really any fictional characters either. Not towards any celebrities. Never had a celebrity crush before. I know, shocking. I'm the one who wrote fan fiction. I'm the one who read a lot of romance and sex-filled fan fiction. So I kind of know on what's like. I mean, I would argue I know what's more like as like a romance aspect, but within the sexual aspect, I never really wanted to do anything to people like that. Not my cup of tea. Not me at all, honestly. Um, and as in for my gender identity, I consider myself bigender. And that means I consider myself both well, for me, two genders. Bigender is someone who has two different gender identities. I feel them pretty much both at the same time, although one tends to have more of a dominance and they can sort of like shift to a dominance to another. Um, I consider myself to be boy flex and demi girl. It means that my boy, it means that my masculine identity tends to fluctuate. Um, to like more of a demi boy to trans mask. It tends to fluctuate between that and whatever identities that are kind of like in the middle of that because I'm always masculine in some ways. And demi girl, even if I was like, even like being partially a guy, I still feel like a more of like a female aspect to myself. There's still some female features of myself that even like that making the word transgender not describe me because if I don't consider myself to be a trans man because of the fact that I still relate to some female aspects enough. And what I mean is um even though I don't really like my chest, I still like some of my other parts, some of my other characteristics, some of my aspect of my body. Do I want to look more neutral? Yes, but it's not in a way of being non binary, it's not in a way of being transgender. It's neither of those ways, it's its own unique way. And I think being disabled definitely makes it more easier for me to realize this, to realize by the fact that being cisgender doesn't really fit me because I like being called as a man. I like being referred as a man. But being transgender doesn't really fit me because, I don't consider myself trans. I mean, I would fit under the trans umbrella. I would fit both under the trans and non binary umbrella. Those are terms, but I don't use those terms to describe myself. Um, Even like besides trans mask whenever I'm really feeling those days. But that's different. That's being trans mask while still retaining an identity that may relate to your wait that may relate to the um gender you were assigned at birth or non-binary identity. I mean, if you consider yourself trans by that aspect, go for it. But for me, that's not on how I feel or what I am. Um, now, no, now I am also not a Christian. I'm an ex-Christian. I'm agnostic. I've been agnostic for years, and I don't plan on going back into the church or anything. I really in I'm fine with Christians. My family is basically mostly Christian or at least Christian aligned. Um, Even though that I'm the only agnostic person in my family, someone who doesn't really hold a religious opinion, I'm still really chill with other religious opinions. I don't consider myself an atheist, although I tend to lean more towards atheist ideas. Um, and I'm more into philosophy rather than religion anyways. I'm still trying to figure out of what philosophy exactly fits me. I'm probably gonna go for probably gonna go towards like two philosophies that at least don't contradict each other enough to where I can do it. I'll probably talk more about like my religion and spirituality later on, and I'll definitely make another video about my disability later on. Um, I before I in the intro, this channel is definitely gonna be. This channel doesn't really have anything specifically planned. I'm probably gonna I'm most likely gonna use this channel to spread scientific knowledge, try to combat misinformation and disinformation. Um and I'm also gonna use this channel to highlight my scientific stuff. Because as someone who is a wannabe scientist, I um I I would consider myself both as like a wannabe scientist and a wannabe inventor, like both, although the kind of stuff that I want to invent are kind of like autism field. It really is. Like, the only reason why I suddenly want to invent stuff is because of the autism and the probable ADHD fueling it. Um, Especially because of, well, my special interest. Um, I have a special interest in numbers, the Mega Man Robot Masters, and clinical research. I tend to obsess over rare diseases, oncology, and neurodiversity. So this channel is definitely gonna be full of those things. I'm gonna probably try to make a separate channel for like all. You know what? No. If I want to post about Mega Man on this channel, hyperfixating on the Robot Masters, hyperfixating on why I want the Robot Masters to be real, I am going to make it. Because fun fact about me, I am so hyperfixated on the Mega Man Robot Masters that I have a whole scientific project dedicated on making my own humanoid robots and trying to make them real. I'll give you a bit of a sample of it, because I currently have my notebook right next to me. I guess I could just make this whole section about like my scientific project. Okay, so the scientific project that I'm talking about is the ATN project series. I am gonna try is the key word here, because I don't know if I could actually do it with like science equipment, all of that stuff. And I am gonna try to make 9 humanoid robots. I don't know if I should use Robot Masters because it might imply copyright, and Capcom, I'm not trying to be copyrighted. I'm autistic over the things you guys created. It's not my fault that I want to make these real. It's not my fault that the Robot Masters give me joy every single day enough to where I make my own. And obviously, like, a lot of the stuff I'm gonna do are probably like, I'm gonna like, obviously, like, with a lot of stuff, since I have my own art style, it's gonna be different enough. It's gonna be different enough, and don't worry, I'm not gonna like make Mega Man into real life or anything. Not planning on doing that. I mean, I'm just purely gonna make it for like, okay. Okay, I probably should talk about the beta project before I go on a tangent about my Mega Man hyperfixation. Um, so they're divided into 3 sections. The ATP numbers, or ATPN, that's gonna be for the prototype. That's gonna be for of who I am going to make. At first, I was only thinking about one prototype, although I kind of have it'll probably be like it'll be like Uno or Dos, prototypes. And one of them is going to be officially on it, while the other one's going to be more or less a personal thing. Partially inspired. Well, okay, a lot inspired by Gemini Man and the fact that he can make holographic copies of himself. Although I'm not planning on making a holographic copy of myself. I just want to be able to make a holographic copy that could actually interact with the real world, while kind of also not. Blame Gemini Man. Blame that bastard. Blame that bastard for this idea. I was not even planning on doing that. Although, obviously, it'll be a lot different than Gemini Man and all of that stuff. It'll be kind of like for a completely different purpose. It'll be rather for like a self-defense, rather, and then ATLN, the ATL numbers, it's gonna be making up about 5 robot robots. Um, these are gonna be like laboratory ones that are gonna be specifically in the lab. Um, some of the names that I picked are definitely not English or origin. My English is not English right now, as you guys can tell. I'm not gonna be really talk about the names until I actually make a video dedicated to this project, whether or not I would actually go through it or whether or not I'd just be aware where I write some stories involving them. And then the ATEN or the ATE numbers. Um, those are gonna be making up the last 3. The 3 that are specifically gonna be environmental numbers, trying to combat climate change and stuff. Actually, really cool ideas for like the 3. Um, obviously, like I mean, for me, I have specific like I have specific coding for the 3 sections, so that way I can actually you know, have things consistent, have things organized, because if I don't do that, and I think I talked about everything. I think everyone knows this is the intro video. Bye. Sayonara. I don't know what else to say.